Alright, welcome back to TEW 2020, the new era. I don't know if you've all noticed, the reoccurring viewers of this series, but I have went through all of the videos in the brand split from day one, updated a thumbnail, and renamed the entire series. I liked the name A Brand Split from day one, but it is really long despite the nice ring to it, and plus I like the idea that I didn't even realize in that I'm basically rebooking the whole new era up to 2020. My ultimate goal for the series is to play through, and the final episode will be WrestleMania 36. That is assuming that nothing bad happens to me in the way, like life doesn't intervene or something. But yeah, as of right now, that is the ultimate goal. And I've decided to rename the series The New Era because it is the new era. And the new era has been shit. Most of it has been utter shit. Little blip there, but I can actually pinpoint the exact moment when the new era became shit. And it is when Jinder Mahal won the WWE Championship. I'm not saying that Jinder Mahal as a WWE Champion was bad, even though it was, but the idea of it wasn't terrible. The execution was poor, and it was just at that moment, everything fell apart. Everything fell apart. I have not enjoyed WWE since that moment. There was a very brief amount of time where I was enjoying Raw, but it was nowhere near as long as I was enjoying SmackDown. I think the moment I stopped enjoying Raw was how they kind of botched Kevin Owens' Universal title run. So yeah, basically the new era has just made me stop watching WWE as a whole. So I'm rebooking it. Long tangent there. But we of course are here for night 4 of the Cruiserweight Classic. This is the final night of round 1. Tonight on the agenda we have an update on Isiah Swerve Scott, whether or not he will be wrestling tonight. Zack Sabre Jr. is taking on Aleister Black in the main event. I've forgotten all the other matches, so it'll be a surprise to both of us. I know Swann is taking Roderick Strong versus TJ Perkins is a match. The other ones I don't remember. So let's just get into the show. But opening the show will be the update on Mr. Swerve Scott. So we open with Renee Young saying that Isiah Swerve Scott is okay for action. He will be available to wrestle in his match tonight. Whether he will win or not will depend on how much the injury is still affecting him. That could be the reason he loses his match, and it is the reason he loses his match. Andrade, Cien, Almas defeats Isiah Swerve Scott in 5:52, and Isiah was just slowed down by that injury. He's 100% medically, but he's been out of the ring. He's got a little bit of ring rust, and the young up-and-comer Andrade Cien Almas took advantage of it. And while Isiah Swerve Scott might have been cleared for action, another man fell injury on an episode, I guess a house show. I don't know where the fuck these guys are getting injured. I haven't booked them. I don't know where the fuck they're getting injured. But Rich Swann has an injury, so he will need a replacement. He is out of the Cruiserweight Classic, and he will need a replacement. And his replacement is a new man by the name of Corey Cannonball, the master of the 630 senton, just a aerial fucking assassin, He's Andrew Everett. He's Andrew Everett if you didn't recognize him. One of my favorite wrestlers in Impact. One of the few that I like nowadays. Everyone else, most of them I'm indifferent to. I have very few guys on the Impact roster I love now, and Andrew Everett is one of them. His gimmick is old school face, and it got a rating of great. He may receive a bonus when booked to look dominant. Andrew the Giant will be known as Corey Cannonball from now on. And despite him making his debut, I guess, tonight, Aleks Kozlov has had more time to prepare for the Cruiserweight Classic than Corey Cannonball, and Aleks Kozlov defeats him with the Frog Splash elbow drop. Next matchup is Roderick Strong versus TJ Perkins. I don't know how I did it, but I managed to make all of the unimportant versus unimportant matches beyond the fucking final show, excluding the main event, which has Zack Sabre Jr., who I think I've made the most over guy in the Cruiserweight Classic. But in a terrible... It would not have been terrible wrestling. Shut up. Those two, that's good performances. PJ Perkins, the winner of the Real World Cruiserweight Classic, advances against Roderick Strong. Will he win it in this Cruiserweight Classic? Maybe not. You know, some of the star power that we have is staying with the company, so TJ Perkins winning might not actually happen this time around. But in the end, he does defeat Roderick Strong, and he will advance in the Cruiserweight Classic. And the final match of round 1 of the CWC, we have Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Aleister Black by submission. Fuck you, not a Tiger suplex. I meant to hit by submission. I don't care. He won by submission, and he got a fucking 71 because he's Zack Sabre Jr. Aleister Black isn't quite there yet. He will probably be making a trip down to NXT for a little bit. He's not quite ready for the main roster, but Zack Sabre Jr., I am confident. No matter if he loses in the second round or he wins the whole thing, Zack is probably ready for the main roster. And that is how we close out round 1 of the Cruiserweight Classic. 54, Zack Sabre Jr., of course, having an insane main event. So that is everyone that is advancing. And I don't remember the matchups off the top of my head, so stay tuned for the next episode of SmackDown to find out who is facing who in round 2. But don't forget, the next episode in this series is SummerSlam. SummerSlam is the next episode. Of course, I will have a match card video happen before SummerSlam, but the next day, same time the next day, will be SummerSlam. And I really hope to see you all there for my biggest pay-per-view so far.